Mr. TG. This is lesson 4.4 in Algebra 2A. This particular lesson involves factoring polynomials. And for you to better understand how to factor polynomials, you must know how to be able to multiply them. So I thought we would review this with you. And in front of you in your notes, you'll see that the first four problems were multiplying two binomials together. Now there's an acronym that we use in doing this. It's called FOIL. Hopefully that rings a bell from Algebra 1. But if not, let's review how to use FOIL when multiplying two binomials together. So as you can see here, I've got number one, we're taking x minus 5 times x plus 2. Now the acronym FOIL was used strictly to help us keep straight of what terms to multiply because there's quite a few of them. For example, in this one, you'll notice you always start with f. So we'll start with f here. And that means the first terms. So the f stands for the first terms of our binomials. We're going to multiply them, x times x, which is x squared. So we'll put that as x squared. That's your first step. The second step is to multiply the outside terms. Now in relationship to the problem, the outside terms are x and 2, which would give us 2x. So that was the O. So you multiply the outside terms, you get 2x. Then you multiply the inside terms, which are these two terms. So remember, this is a negative 5. So you'd end up with a negative 5x when you multiply that and x together. And then the last terms would be negative 5 and 2. In relationship to the problem, that's your L, which is minus 10. Now usually what happens when you multiply using FOIL, the O and I can be combined in some cases, and actually in most cases. So you end up with x squared minus 3x minus 10 is your trinomial that represents the two binomials that we multiplied together. So I'm using a lot of terminology with polynomials. Remember, if it's got two terms, we call it a binomial, bi meaning two. If it's got three terms, we call it a trinomial. Now what I would like you to do is using FOIL, FOIL number 2, FOIL number 3, and FOIL number 4. Notice in each of those cases we are multiplying two binomials, so we can use FOIL. And I'm going to hit pause, and when we come back, I'll show you what you should have come up with, and then we'll discuss your results. Okay, welcome back. As you can see, I've completed 2, 3, and 4. Hopefully your answers match. FOIL number 2, you can see that you end up with negative 6x squared minus 31x minus 40. Number 3, something unique happens. You notice your O and I, they cancel out, and you're left with just x squared minus 64. And then 4 has a unique characteristic also. You see the binomials are identically the same, giving you x squared minus 10x plus 25. We have special names for some of these particular products. Number 3, we're going to call that the difference of squares. And number 4, we're going to call that a perfect square trinomial because it equals two binomials that are exactly the same. One problem left to do, and that's number 5. Here we would not use FOIL. You don't FOIL number 5. You just distribute the 3x over both terms. You get 3x squared and then minus 12x. Okay. Now, you'll notice the chapter's title is factoring. Why am I showing you how to multiply? Well, you have to understand the concept of multiplication before you can factor. In this lesson, we're going to be essentially working backwards. We're going to be giving you the answer here and going backwards. In number 5, 3x squared minus 12x would equal 3x times x minus 4. This would be called factoring out the GCF, the greatest common factor. You know, there's a 3 and there's an x in common, and we're essentially going to be working backwards. Number 4 is going to be a perfect square trinomial. We're going to show you how to predict if it's a perfect square trinomial, and then how to factor it into the two of the same binomials. Number 3 is the difference of squares. I'm going to show you how to make a prediction here. If it's a perfect square minus a perfect square, it has to be x minus 8x plus 8. And then the O and I cancel. And then there's just going to be trinomials that are just trinomials, like x squared minus 3x minus 10 that can be factored. We'll show you how to do those. And then our grand finale will be trinomials whose a value is bigger than 1. They take a little bit more work. But essentially, that's our goal. That's our objective. is to take our answers that we found here and work backwards into binomial factors or a GCF. So good luck with this. This is video number 1. Stay tuned for the next video, which will be factoring out the GCF and the difference of squares.